Well, I am just wiring up the supports for the deck for our Duck 12 build. And today we are going to work on putting the deck together and then fitting it onto a hull. So let me catch you up how I got to this point. The first thing I did was I sanded all of the pieces. Now we have them all sanded. Now the next step, just as we had done with the hull, is to remove these little registration marks. Once that's complete, we'll start beveling the edges. I'm getting it close with the hand plane, and then I'm coming back with some 80 grit sandpaper and finishing it up. One of the things to watch out for is when you're beveling the aft deck that the bevel only goes part way over. So from here around where it joins the forward deck, it does not need to be beveled. So in order to find that location, you can lay the forward deck here and against here and get it kind of approximate and then make a little mark. And it's better to make it a little shy because you can always finish this up with some sandpaper later, but you can't fix it if you go too far. Now when you're beveling an inside curve like this with your plane, if you hold the plane on here, you can see it doesn't cut anything at all because the blade is away from the workpiece because of how long the plane is. So one of the things is you can turn the plane this way, which then you can get it to cut, like so. With really tight curves here, you can use an apron plane, which you can see is much smaller than just a regular block plane. And so of course then it will fit in here. Sometimes it helps to go the opposite direction. And of course, if you're not comfortable with your planing abilities, you can always use a 4-in-hand rasp like this, and then you may have a little bit more control if you're new at this. Works just as well, just takes a little longer. Now what's the point of this beveling exercise that we're going through? Well, if we have our two panels here, we definitely want to have a nice crisp edge where those two pieces meet, which is going to require a bevel. Now, one of the things is whether you can bevel too much, and sometimes you don't bevel enough, because what we really want is for our bevel to be like this. Now I'm exaggerating it a little bit, and then once it's stitched through here with the copper wire and hold that joint together, what we'll eventually do is to put an epoxy fillet in here, like so. And that epoxy fillet, you want to fill that space as well to glue that together really well, like that. So it's very much like a welder that would be welding two pieces together. They always have a gap so that the weld can penetrate in there. So that's pretty much what we're looking for, is a crisp edge on the outside and a little bit of a gap on the inside so that we can fill it with an epoxy fillet. Now that I've got all of the parts beveled and ready to stitch together, as I had mentioned in the last episode, we want to make sure that all of the holes are cleared. Now in this particular panel here, you can see why I want to check that. So you can see the holes here on the inside of the panel. If we flip it over, you can see, the end on there, you can't see them at all. So this particular panel, for some reason, they didn't get drilled all of the way. So this one is clearly one that I'm going to need to go through and finish those holes up. Now we can see we've got all of those holes visible on the outside of the panel. Now we're going to get started with the deck, and the way we start here is right here in the center. So we want to start right here, and we'll get a wire, and we want to have the twist on the outside of the panel. So we'll move on down. So what we're going to do is going to move to the port side, and then to the starboard side, and then back to the port, starboard, and so forth. I was having trouble with the foredeck cooperating. The issue was that the panel had curved in the wrong direction. The fact that the kit had sat around for over 5 years hadn't done it any favors. Not an issue with new kits, by the way. So my solution was to force it to bend with some lumber and clamps. I was then able to get it all stitched up. There are machines that drill the holes. They're pretty much 90% accurate, but you can see these two holes are not across from each other. And so I'm going to put another hole here to correct that. Working alone is a challenge, and in those cases clamps help. Many of the challenges are alleviated with an extra pair of hands from a friend. Keep the panels in positions, I tacked them together with some CA glue and activator. In order to get the foredeck camber established, I had once again a clamp to the rescue. I was then able to attach the deck form that defines the proper camber. I then attached the remaining deck beams and secured them with a few CA glue tacks. So in the last video I had a comment of somebody that was confused on how I had put these puzzle pieces together. So once I epoxied the pieces and pushed them together and then put the binding fiberglass tape on there, I put this on top of a piece of visqueen. Then the next thing I would do is put another piece of visqueen on there, and then the same thing was done to the opposing panel, and then it was put together here like this, and then I put another piece of visqueen on there, and then I put a block on there and then clamped it to my table. Now I can reach down here and clamp this table. The other thing you do is get a longer board and actually put a screw into your table just to make that nice and secure, like so. And I did that with each opposing panel and stacked them up. So I hope that clears that up. Now I'm going to put the, this would be the port side to the side for right now, and put the starboard on next. So this is when we start to put our side panels onto the form. And again, like most of the other panels, we'll start amidship and then work our way fore and aft with our stitches. Well, that's the last stitch for the deck. Now, you can see that it's kind of generally has its form now. Initially, when you're putting the panels on, it seems like nothing's going to fit, but it does. It's just if you take your time and work methodically, certainly having one side on and the other side on, the second side goes easier. Now, one of the things you might try is putting both sides on the same time so that you're stitching midship on both sides and then slowly moving yourself out, and that may help form that deck easier for you. I'm not sure, but it's a suggestion. So now that I've got the deck all put together, what I'm going to do is take my CA glue and go through and get those really positioned properly and basically tack weld all of these together. Well, now it's time to test fit the deck to the hull. I also went through and tack spot glued the hull together the same way that I did the deck. So I've put a couple of sticks, or 3 sticks across here to catch it first so that it'll be able to slide around. So let's get on there. Well, it looks pretty good just sitting there. So you can see once we start stitching this together that it's going to fit together nicely. One of the things that I failed to do is I did not bevel this top edge. So you can see that the deck doesn't want to fit quite on there. There's a pretty good sized gap. So I'll need to definitely go around and bevel this top edge of the hull. The other spot that's going to need a good amount of adjustment is back here at the transom, and you can see that that sticks up at least a good 1/4 of an inch. So when this sits on there, it's going to leave a gap. So I'm going to need to trim this down and bevel it, as well as, like I said earlier, is beveling this top edge to match this bevel. So it looks like we've got a little fine tuning to do to get the deck and the hull to meet nicely. But one of the things about having it just sitting here is you can really see the beautiful shape of this kayak and how those flat forms come together to really make a nice looking boat. Now then, we're going to take a little break from the wood duck next episode. In the next episode, I'll be get started on the little auk. Now, some of you longtime subscribers have been requesting that I give you more sailing videos. Well, my friend Ann Bryant over at her channel, Pine to Palm, has just published a video of when she came out here in Illinois and helped rig and sail the boat for the first time. So here's a little teaser about what you'll see.
Beauty. The sound of my people.
We're sailing. So I'll help you have an opportunity to go over to Ann's channel and watch that video. And you can see it from this link right here. So as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you the next time on The Art of Boat Building.